QuestLore, a family Lorcana podcast, where each week we talk about playing Lorcana as a family. I'm Jen.
I'm Emmett. I'm Malcolm.
And I'm Matt.
So we're gonna start this week, like we start every other week, and we're gonna talk about our league play. So this week was actually not technically league play, because the store that we were playing at was actually holding a championship round, for the top two players, like before, or did they do it on Saturday?
No, they played before we got there on
Yeah.
Sunday. I saw the pack open, like they had already ripped through the entire box.
Yeah.
So the top two players were tied, so they played against each other for a booster box. And then the rest of they also passed out all the promos for us, and then
Yeah.
the rest of the time was just a fun get
Fun,
together.
yeah. So just a fun play where, just playing the normal 3 rounds and it didn't count as league play, but it was still fun. Still like talking about how we did. So I did okay. Went 2-1.
Mhm.
And I did. I believe I only in one of my, or no, I think all three of my games I played 3 games, like each
Yeah.
one. The only game I lost, of course, was to this one over here.
Ah,
But I did beat him once
yeah.
out of the 3, so he didn't go 2-0 against me, and I'm the only person I think that beat you.
Wait,
No,
Crystal beat me once.
Oh, Crystal beat. That's right,
Yeah.
Crystal beat you once. But yeah, but it was kind of cool though, because one of the people that I beat was the person who won the championship for the first.
John?
Yeah, so I beat him. So that felt kind of good to beat the person who actually won for the whole first league, or the second league for the whole place. So that was kind of cool. And I am playing my a kind of new and updated Steel Song deck, and I am really liking it. So, how'd you do?
I got second to last place as usual.
But did you have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you win any games, or did you lose ever?
I think I won against Mel. Nope.
Nope. Nope. I don't.
I got 2-0 against him.
I think you won one game with somebody. I can't remember.
No, I remember I played like 2 family members.
Yeah.
No, Malcolm was the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I played 2 family.
You didn't play me or Dad, so. All right. So
Lots of games
Yeah.
playing against the same.
So Malcolm, how did you do?
I got 4.
Yeah, 5th. I think 4. No, it was 4th. You're right. I think I got 6th and you got 4th.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
I got 4. I went 2-1. I 2-0 2 people, and I got 1. I lost 2-0 to 1. So that's right. Deck that conflicts aside.
Right. You're playing steel deck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You will also play.
Yeah,
I kind of do. I mean, I beat you once. When? Yeah, I beat you once.
Not this past week.
Not this past week. You
Yeah.
have in the past. You have in the past.
No, you didn't.
And then I was able to go 3-0, and I did win the event for this week, so that was nice to do. I also, I beat the other guy that came in second.
Yeah.
And we were both playing Ruby Amethyst, and so it was a mirror match, and I was able to get over him. And I went against him 2-0, and that was a pretty good win for me, because I was also going second for both games, so
Yeah.
to go 2-0 playing second, that's pretty good.
Mhm.
So I was happy, and then this past week I just couldn't get enough. I needed to get out again and play some more, and I went to a draft at another store near us. That was fun. I was able to, during the draft, pull a legendary Ursula, which is great because that completed the playset for us. So that was awesome. So that's the one where when you sing with her, you can then sing the same song again for free.
Right.
So it's like doubling up the song. So if you're singing,
So that means you'll draw 4 cards if she sings.
she sings Friends on the Other Side. Yep.
Yep. But or what's more deadly is if you're playing it with Jafar.
Oh.
Well, yeah. So you would get the Forlorn, right? She's only costs 3, so you can't sing Whole New World. But you can sing Let the Storm Rage On,
Sure.
or Strength of a Raging Fire,
Sure.
or Mother Knows Best.
Yeah.
There are a lot of 3-cost songs that you can sing that are pretty powerful.
Yeah.
But I did get a 4th of her, so that was awesome. And then I did end up winning, which was awesome too.
So
Not as always. I've been on a lucky streak lately, but that's definitely gonna come crashing down in a minute now.
What?
But so he ended up getting cash, I think, prize, and
No,
then bought some more decks, or
no, it's just 3 packs.
oh,
that
3 packs. So
went
we
there.
opened those 3 packs, and we actually got really lucky again because the pack that I opened out of the 3 that he won, not only did I get
Adrian Hawkins.
a Hawkins, Jim
Jim
Hawkins,
Hawkins.
a Jim Hawkins legendary, but then I also got a foil legendary Ursula,
Just like what
which
I
is
did.
our
And
second one, which is awesome because
Yeah.
that is a big card right now.
just like what I did in our drafting episode. I mean, our
Our opening,
opening packs of boxes.
Yeah.
So,
So yes, go watch that on YouTube. Yeah, if you want to see us opening and what luck we had from opening
three
the new pack.
enchanted.
Yeah.
That was fun. So yeah, I won last night, and the store that's been there a few times. He did, and there were only a few of us that went to draft showed his support. He did give us a few of the promos. I think we were talking last week about how we really wanted in. So
Yes.
at the normal store we played at, we did manage to get a full set of the Sneak Set 2 pins.
Yes, we had all the pins, and then we ended up getting an extra last night.
Then we actually got last night. We got an extra of the Honey Wizard Coup
This is
pin.
what that one
Which
looks
is the
like.
best card in the game. I mean, the best
The
art.
artwork is very
Some of the best
cool.
artwork in the game. Yeah. The artist that drew this one also drew like that new Robin Hood.
Oh,
The big one.
No, so the green one where he's kind of like lying on the river.
I love that.
It's a really cool card. So it's the same artist.
That's
That
awesome.
makes
It's too bad they're not on better cards that we're using.
I
all the
know.
time, right?
Wait, does he
I
do
know.
anything?
Uh,
Card,
no,
he's
I think
fine.
he's a 5/5 that quests for 2.
Yeah.
So it's
He's fine.
really vanilla.
Yeah.
It's about as vanilla as you can get.
Yep. But overall, good week.
Yep, for sure. Very good.
Had lots of fun playing, and hope to play again this Sunday.
Yes, we've got this Sunday coming up,
Our
the start of our
league.
first league for set 3, and then the week after that is the draft, and then we're gonna miss a couple weeks for like the
What boys? What are we doing? Why are we missing a couple weeks of Lorcana?
What? Heading to New Orleans.
Yeah, we're so we ended up surprising the boys for both their birthdays, with a spring break cruise trip. So we're going to New Orleans and then taking a cruise from there down through the Caribbean, through Mexico and Honduras and Belize, and we're all very excited. The boys have never been to those countries before. They've never been to New Orleans, so
I'll tell you what the boat tastes like.
So gumbo reviews coming up on QuestLore. Just what you were waiting for. But yeah, lots of fun coming up. But today, what we're going to be doing, our main topics for today. First, we're going to look at some of the lore for Lorcana. What exactly are we doing? Like, Emmett, you had a question.
So this is what we're doing. So we are going to watch some videos. It seems like
or listen to if you're listening.
Yeah. So there have been there's 2 ways that we've been getting some of the lore, the actual story behind Lorcana. There is some lore behind this, some details about what we are. We're Lumineers is the term that they use for players of Lorcana. We're Lumineers. So when you see another person playing, say hello, fellow Lumineer, and then they look at you kind of strangely,
I'm doing that as well.
like, oh, okay, because not a lot of people know about it. Because to get the story, you have 2 places. You can watch these videos that have no dialogue actually in them, that Disney has put out, or Ravensburger, I should say. And then you can read the books that come with the troves. The troves, which are notoriously hard to get. So finding the actual lore for Lorcana is a difficult process.
There's books in the trove.
There's books in the trove. Why haven't I been reading them? There's
Just-
only books in the first and
So
second.
it's just the first and second book that had first and second troves had books. They didn't have them in the third, probably because they were including the dice and the dividers, which were great, but they didn't have those books in there. They did have a video for it out, but there's not as much. There wasn't as much lore released for the third set as there was the first and second set. So if you read these books, what you'll find out is that there's a whole world that's called Lorcana. Okay, and big thing inside Lorcana is called the Great Illuminary. It's this big spherical golden thing. Um, and the Great Illuminary was created by the curator. We don't know who the curator is, um, but it's created by the curator. Basically, what the Great Illuminary does is captures story stars. Story stars are fragments of Disney stories.
Oh.
So it's capturing all these fragments of Disney stories and storing them inside the Great Illuminary. Um, the curator then creates glimmers using story stars, magical ink, and lore pages.
Mm.
Right? So the glimmers are essentially our cards. Those are like glimmers because they're the characters created from Disney stories and the magical ink. So we're using ink and we're using the stories to create the cards and placing them down, right? Um, all of his apprentices that he brought in to help with are called Illumineers. So that's what we are. We're Illumineers, right? But then ages pass and Lorcana slept. The curator and the original Illumineers are all gone. But then somehow the great Illuminary awoke. And all this lore, all these pages of lore went missing. And they got spread out. So they called upon people to collect lore so that glimmers could be created again, and those could roam Lorcana like they're supposed to. Right? So
that's why we're
collecting the lore so that we can create more glimmers so that they can live in Lorcana. Now, we're going to look at the first video. This was like a teaser video that Ravensburger released for Lorcana. We've got the Lorcana symbol, and then this person's name is Shanty, right? So she's at this lousy karaoke or poetry reading, and she storms off because no one's listening to her, no one appreciates her artistic talent, and she runs into a glowing light. It's the Lorcana symbol. Ooh. She wakes up, and this is the Great Illuminary.
Oh.
All right. Yep. So that's a symbol you'll see on a lot of Lorcana stuff, and then the Lorcana symbol, and that's the first chapter video that they have. Maybe at some point it could be a location, right? And then we're going to look at the second video that was also released with the first chapter here. You get the Lorcana symbol again. And there's Shanzi standing inside the Great Luminary. And it's leading her deeper into it for this device. And then that is Venturo and Martin. Yeah, it's like there's Venturo. And then over on the other side, it's just Martin. It's like we used up all of our clever naming. So this is the device kind of powering the whole thing. This is what's using the ink, like powering this whole, powers the books and powers everything in Lorcana. So it's leading her deeper into the Great Illuminary. So here's this big book, right?
Oh, I've seen that.
And that's gathering ink, and that's a ink caster, is what's that called. So she's using it to use the ink and the lore pages to create a glimmer. And so all these glimmers are using the fragments of Disney stories, right? So she's going to use it to create Hercules. And then she can now Hercules, her and Hercules work together to go out and quest to find lore to bring back to the Great Illuminary to keep it safe.
And then Martin and the other guy.
Well, we'll talk about what Martin and the other guy have been up to next time on QuestLore.
Cool.
All right, so that is the beginning. That was what was released for the first chapter. So that is
so you can find that on the Ravensburger website.
You can find that on the Ravensburger website. the DisneyLorcana.com, I believe, is the website that they use for it.
Okay.
You can find these videos and watch them there. Um, so that's kind of what they've laid out during the first chapter for the Lore of Lorcana. What do you guys think of that?
That's a cool story.
Yeah, I like it. I didn't know any of that beforehand. I hadn't read the books that were in the first two troves. So I think it's cool. I think it's very intriguing. Um,
Yeah.
do you boys have any guesses on who might be the what was the person's name? The like grand
The curator.
great curator. Any ideas of who you think it is?
I think I know him.
So let's share.
I think it's the sorcerer.
The
Yeah.
sorcerer from The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yes.
Do you know Yensid?
Yensid, yes.
And
That's what I was thinking too. Is that it's Yensid?
that's the biggest one, right? That's gonna be Yensid, right? At
Because
some
there
point.
isn't any Jensen card here.
No, we
No.
got his hat.
We've just got the sorcerer's hat and we've got brooms.
And we got brooms, and there's like a lot of brooms out there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so there's a lot of brooms and his hat. So that's what I was thinking too. Is that and then we have the location.
Yeah.
So I think Yensid makes a lot of sense. So again, we were kind of alluding, but if you don't know, Yensid is the name of the sorcerer from the Sorcerer's Apprentice that is in actually it's in both, but from the original Fantasia that was made back in the was it 50s?
I think it was.
40s? Do you guys remember?
I think it was like.
I
So
don't
actually,
know.
I know Snow White was in the 30s. I think
I think it
Pinocchio
was-
was also in the 30s.
I think it's in the 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Quite a while ago. And
Yeah.
Yensid is backwards. It's Disney spelled backwards.
Yes.
For those that didn't know
It
that little bit of trivia. Yeah. So it's Disney spelled backwards, so it would make a lot of sense with him. It's also possible we may never see
Who it
that.
is?
Yeah. I've
I
already
know
got
it
that.
says. I know
Um,
it's in the wizard.
Okay. So hopefully I'm sure we'll get more as we go on. So the rumor is that I don't remember what the fourth set is going to be called, but someone had put out a list of names for what the sets were going to be called, and they were right on Rise of Bloodborne and Into the Inklands. So we're assuming that list is correct. I don't remember what four is called, but the fifth one was called the second chapter, right? So there's a good chance we'll get a lot more story once we get there.
Sure.
Additionally, you can find story hints in a lot of the cards on the quotes in the cards. Some of the art in the cards has some story in it.
Yeah.
We'll be going over that next week as we watch some of the stuff from Rise of Bloodborne, and then I'll point out some of the clues in the cards.
Cool.
Because there's some clues as to who may have disturbed it as well.
Oh.
So
I bet you.
I bet.
Mickey.
No, it's Mickey. Like how he doesn't like the new. Yes, it's Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
Oswald the
They
Lucky
just
Rabbit.
missed this by watching the podcast, and they hear me screaming Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and they know they need to make him in the story.
Yeah.
So there's a clue that points to a very obvious villain.
Mhm.
It's definitely a villain, not Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and not Mickey.
Jafar.
Not Jafar. Not Melissa.
Ooh.
Evil
So-
Queen.
No, you're eventually just gonna guess. And keep
Okay,
running out
never mind. He
So-
doesn't want us to guess, so we'll just wait
I-
till we get there.
Once I give you the clue, it'll be an instant. Yeah, we know. So the next topic we wanted to talk about today is continuing kind of our Lorcana education series, and that is looking at what's in a deck. So you may have to, if you're going to go and play Lorcana at a store, at an event with friends, the first thing you're going to need is a deck of cards. The easiest thing to do to get a deck and be able to play is grab one of the starter decks, start playing.
And they are absolutely playable.
Yeah, they're playable.
Absolutely, they're playable. Like they might not win you a tournament, but they are definitely playable if you're just starting out. Like it's a great way to start.
Yeah. But let's say you can't get one of the starter decks, or you don't want to do one of the starter decks. You want your own flavor. So what has to go into a deck? So, boys, when we're talking about decks, how many cards do you guess?
60.
So-
you don't have to have 60 cards if you have like the 99 puppy thing.
Sure. So
But generally
60 cards is the minimum that you have to have. You can't have less than that.
unless you're doing a draft.
Sure. Special things that's completely
Yeah.
different. We're just going to talk about regular competitive play.
You
Sure.
can.
But why do you think But I keep all of our decks at 60. But why do you think that? Why do I keep cards at 60?
So because if you have like 100 cards, you might like not pull what you want.
Because
That's
what's
right.
the maximum amount of one type of card you can have?
Four.
Right. So every card. I was asking them. I knew you.
Okay.
Right. So every card. Right. Every for any card that you put in your deck, you're only allowed to have 4 copies of that card. And so just based on probability, the more cards you have in your deck, the less likely you are to pull that one card you're looking for. So, um, so keeping that minimum 60 amount is a good way to ensure that you're going to get the card that you want.
Yeah. There's a few exceptions about going over 60. Like if you really need the cards in your hand in your deck and you really need them, sure, go 1 or 2 over. The other exception is if you are doing where you're trying to get your opponent to discard. So if you are playing
A discard deck, yeah.
you're trying to get your opponent to use up all their deck.
Right.
So there is a whole new world, right? Causes their opponent to draw 7 cards. So get 7 cards off of their deck. If you use that with Emerald, it has a action called Do It Again, where you take the action back from your discard pile, so you can just keep playing a whole new world over and over and over.
Or
until
that
they use their
personal
card.
card. Or well, she can't do a whole new world,
Yeah.
but still.
But playing that over and over again, getting them to use up their whole deck, so you win because they run out of cards.
Right.
But most of the time, 60 is what you want to hit. Because more cards, less chance of seeing the card you want. You only can have 4 of each card, so you want to keep that to a minimum amount so you can see what you need to see. The second rule for decks, only 2 color types. Again, this is just for regular play. Only have 2 color types. And so let's go over and review those color types. So what color do we got here, boys?
Amber.
Right, amber. So amber or yellow, as it's often referred to, is one of those colors that you can use. When you guys think of amber cards, what do you think of?
My dad.
I think of princesses.
My dad.
I think of like amber. I think of cute. Cute and pretty is what I think are amber.
Taylor still
Yeah, but I think of cute and pretty because most of amber, like the new amber stuff, is like all the puppies and before that is like mostly princesses and things like that. So that's what when I think amber, I think cute. I think pretty. Like I don't know. That's what I think of because that's what most of the amber cards are.
But also amber is a little demon.
Yeah, it's Turnabog.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, very cute.
And
Turnabog's not the cutest.
But and Malcolm, before I go into kind of like what I feel like the kind of theme is in there, what do you think about amber?
I think I don't know. I think a lot of princesses are in there. And a lot of animals.
It does have a lot of princesses. It has a lot of singers.
Yes, a lot of singers.
Right, so that's where all the singers are in amber.
Yeah.
And then it also has a lot, like what you're saying, the cute characters also are the low costing characters.
Yes.
So it has a lot of low costing characters, like all those puppies.
Yeah.
And you have characters that benefit from that.
Yeah.
Stitch, the Rockstar Stitch, right? You get to draw with him. Chernabog, right?
Demon.
While he's the demon, yes. But you get to play him faster if you've got a lot of those low level characters.
Especially if you play a Simba and then he dies and then you draw a Chernabog. Which happened this week.
Yeah. And then it's also about healing and bringing characters back, right? Rapunzel is healing. You've got multiple Rapunzels in there. You've got Hades that brings cards back from the graveyard. You got Chernabog puts cards back from the graveyard. And things Snow White brings cards back from your graveyard.
Yeah.
All those things all happen in amber. So it's all about healing and bringing people back.
I also feel like amber is like a pretty easy deck to play. Like it's easy to understand. Like some of the other colors, there's a lot of like thinking and understanding how it all works to get works.
Steel.
Well, but I was thinking more like more like the amethyst
Mm-hmm.
is a tricky one to play, or even ruby can be
Sure.
tricky to play.
Sure.
I feel like amber is one that isn't like super tricky. Like there's definitely ways to play it well. Like especially when like the queen, with the shiftable queen and the Rapunzel, like there are definitely ways to play it better. But I don't feel like it's hard to understand the abilities of the amber cards.
Right. Yeah. So that's amber. Our next color is
Amethyst.
amethyst.
Not only,
Right.
not only my birthstone. It is it's the rust color in my opinion. Like my deck, my whole deck, which is aggro, basically uses this color and mostly only that color.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got Lilo, and it's mostly.
That's right. Right. Yep.
You also got Stitch and Rockstar.
What do you guys think about amethyst? What is amethyst?
I think of Rush. I think of um, I know it has a decent amount of evasives, even though I feel like emeralds and rubies are more evasive. But I know that they have some evasives. I know that there's a lot of like hard hitters in this. Um, but I know like I feel like when I play against Amethyst, it's not very powerful until later in the game.
Mhm.
Like a lot more high cost cards, but powerful high cost cards that are hard to get rid of.
When I think of Amethyst, I'm worried when somebody's up to 19 boards or about to play a go.
Yeah.
When I think of Amethyst.
Oh yeah, Amethyst sneaky lore.
Yeah.
Sneaky lore when I think of Amethyst, especially those Merlins and Madam Mims, like
and
that.
Arthur.
But again, that's why when I say that is, I feel like that is a tricky color to play. Like you really have to understand all of the abilities of all the cards to play them well with each other.
That's how I play.
So
I
amethyst.
think of it as villains because I think there's also a lot of villains in there.
I agree.
So amethyst is used for two reasons. You get amethyst used a lot. The first is card drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They have friends on the other side. They have the rabbit. They have the Queen's Tower, Queen Castle, all of which get you card draw. Then you've got the new genie card.
Is Pinocchio in that one too?
Pinocchio's in that set. And then that's kind of the other thing is the bounce mechanic, which lets you control the board. It's known very much as a key point of any kind of control deck because you can bounce things out really quickly and just replay them to review their effects. And if you can master like doing that bouncing, controlling your board, and looking at the different ways you can play your cards, then our dog that
Getting into the trash.
Getting into the trash. She wants to be part of the podcast so much, but she can't learn. She hasn't learned English, and I told her she can't until she learns it. Okay. So that's amethyst. It's card drawing. It's the biggest thing, and then it's control with the bouncing package of the Madam and Merlin. That's one of the reasons that I play it. Our next color is emerald.
I think of resist. I think of evasive.
Evasive.
Or not resist. That's right. Yeah, evasive. This is like I would say a good amount of evasive cards in Lorcana.
And war.
And war too.
It's like I feel like this is like the stop deck, like with evasive and ward and stuff and no touchy.
No touchies.
No touchy. I used to play with. No, I still actually play with this deck because here's the strategy for used to Bucky and Flintstone. You never quest with them, and people can't be like do anything with them if they're not exhorted because they can't be chosen.
Unless you like steal deck.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Unless you have a steal deck, that's really it.
Yeah, emerald is for sure.
No, you can't do smash on him.
Because he has ward?
Yeah. So does Bucky.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But they all died to Cracker Swords.
Sure. Yeah.
Which John doesn't.
Yes, he does.
Isn't he a 1/3?
No, 1/2. Yeah, emerald is for sure what I almost would call like the trick deck. I'm gonna mess with your opponent deck. It's gonna discard cards. It's going to sing songs in weird ways, right? It's two new Ursulas from this one, the smaller one that makes you discard a song, and the bigger one that can sing the song twice. So it's definitely, it feels like it's weaker.
Mhm.
Like if you're playing Emerald, you kind of want to win faster.
Yeah.
It feels like because Emerald doesn't have a lot of like what I refer to as like closers, things that can get you lore, dominate the board. You always feel like you're on a little bit of a back foot. Your opponent feels like your opponent can come back at any time.
Mhm.
Um, Looking at the next
Ruby
color,
attack.
Ruby.
Be prepared. Big people. Yeah, big
like
people.
big, strong.
Big boys.
Yes.
Big boys.
Yeah.
Attack.
Again, like strong late game for Ruby. So it's like a lot of people play this with.
Evasive.
Yeah, sometimes evasive too, but a lot of people play this with
Attack decks.
something with attack decks because that it keeps them from. And they also play this with something that gets them a lot of ink quickly. Like usually, like you get a lot of ink quickly because of most of the big hitters need a lot of ink to play them.
Yeah, or you're controlling the board early on
Yes.
to get to these cards. That's
Right.
like what I play is the Ruby Amethyst deck, which is one of the more popular decks in the game. And that's because you can control the board with Amethyst during the early game until you get to turn 5. You can start bringing out the heavy hitting red guys, right? You're destroying them out, you're banishing things with you are banishing everyone. Be prepared. It is a I'm going to punish you.
Who's the new one too?
Madame Medusa.
Madame Medusa from.
Getting rid of it.
Yeah.
What does she do?
From Rescuer. She gets rid of like any card that has
Attack
of 3 or less, which for someone who plays Amber, that's a lot of your deck.
It's a lot more cards than you think.
Yeah.
New Robin Hood, the Beast Tragic Hero, all hit for under 3. The new
Rapunzel.
Pluto, Rapunzel, a ton of people.
Yeah.
Are attacking less than 3. So it's a strong color. It just you need to have it paired with something that draws cards really.
So that you can get lots of ink, you can get lots of cards, you can find those cards you need towards the end of the game.
And with this new set, it's also becoming like the location set because it has Jim
Yes.
Hawkins, which can play him, and then you can play a location.
Yeah, and that.
There. So it's definitely it's gotten a new tool in this latest set.
I feel like Amethyst and Ruby have the 2 strongest locations too.
They do with the Legacy and with the Queen's Castle. Those are probably the 2 strongest locations in the game. And with Jolly Roger,
yes,
so it turns all your cards into rush cards.
Yep.
So. And the next card is Sapphire.
Can I tell you how I know these?
What?
You're doing them from order of that.
Oh, I see. Going backwards? Oh, yes, you are.
So this is the order in which the cards are numbered.
Yeah. In the set, that's why.
Okay, so when I think of Sapphire, I think of items.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really play. I've never played Sapphire. I don't play against
Did
it
any
very
of us
much,
play Sapphire?
No.
He used to.
I would like to give it a try. Unfortunately, the only color that really seems so far to pair really well with is steel. And quite frankly, with since one of us is already playing steel, it's hard for 2 of us to play steel because those cards are very expensive. And I can't afford another 3 Beast Tragic Heroes, another 4 Robin Hoods, another bunch of these. So, but yes, items is a big thing with Sapphire. You know, there's one other big thing associated with Sapphire, and that is ink. Ramping up your ink, getting lots of ink quickly. It's got Detective Mickey, it's got the Quill, Grammatala.
Yes.
Yep, and you've got that new Grammatala card that gets you lore every time you ink something. So.
And the location that works like Grammatala, I think is Sapphire as well.
There was a hot minute last set where I did play Sapphire and Ruby together because that got you up to the attacking Ruby ones quicker. The problem with it was there's only really one way to kind of draw cards in that set, and that requires you to have popsicles, Glaversham, and then a Mick Wild as well to kind of create this kind of crazy drawing engine. And it's just not consistent enough. So if you pair it with steel, though, then you get whole new world of Beast Tragic Hero as well.
Sure.
Your hand.
Sure.
So that's what it's been paired with before. But yeah, it's about inking and it's about items, right? Even its removal, 80s and Let It Go, they remove opponents from the board, but they turn them into ink instead of banishing.
Right.
Then we got one last color. What color is that, guys?
Steel. The club that he was actually talking.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
steel. Yeah, so I play steel. Steel is a lot of songs.
It doesn't got a big thing.
It's got some. So steel. It's got some heavy hitters that are shiftable. Um, and it's got the songs for removal. This is where you're going to get your grab your swords. This is where you're going to get your smash for removal of other items, and that's why it pairs really well with Amber with the singers because like Ariel can sing the grab your swords for 5 even though she only costs 3. And it also has the whole new world, which again is the card retrieval to which is great because it gives you a whole new hand of cards, but it also can really mess up your opponent if they have their plans ready to go and now you just wiped out their whole hand.
Yep, for sure. Steel goes with almost every color.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely works with Amber. That's what you're playing. It's been working well with Amethyst because they've got that bar card.
Yeah.
The world gets their lore.
Yeah.
They've got
Played that. That's a couple people.
it looks like it's starting to catch on with Emerald as well. Pairs well with Sapphire, that we just talked about. It pairs okay with Ruby.
Yeah.
That they both of them, you don't draw enough cards with just both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby, you need a lot of card draw. You need a lot of ink to really
Yeah.
make it work. You don't get enough of that when you're pairing with Steel because both Steel and Ruby rely on uninkables.
Yes, there's a lot of uninkables in Steel for
which
sure.
will be the next thing we're going to talk about here in just a second. But we've gone through all these colors. You get to pick 2, and only 2. You can't have more than that unless you're playing some kind of special rules. You're only going to pick 2 of them, so you have to kind of pick which ones work best.
Except for if you want to draft.
Well, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Unless it's special rules, like a draft or a pack or whatever.
It kind of feels like there's almost 3. There's a kind of a line between 3 of the colors, with 3 colors on each side. I think you have Steel, Ruby, and Emerald as all cards that either attack your opponent, destroy your opponent, in Ruby's case, or remove cards and resources from your opponent in Emerald. And then you have the other 3 colors are your support ones, right? You have Blue with ramping up and getting more ink quickly, Amethyst with draw power, Amber with healing,
and just having a lot of low cost cards,
right?
Yeah. To build up.
It feels like the best decks are going to pair 1 from each side.
Yeah.
To make 1 deck.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so that's what I think all of us have some kind of combination of that. Except you, which obviously things can be played. Any of them can be played together, but a lot of the decks that go long and are meant to be played for a long time.
Yeah.
But we mentioned inkables. Your next choice, so you picked your colors. Now you got to pick cards that go in there. You get inkables versus non-inkables. So we talked last time we did that card and showed that symbol for a card for ink, right? So you can have cards that give you ink or cards that don't give you ink. Our boys are fired.
We have to do this before dinner from now on.
Or at least before they get to play a few games.
Yes.
So you have non-inkable cards. They're usually better cards than the inkable ones,
They
right?
are.
They do a lot of work.
Yeah.
The problem is that if you've got them in your hand
early, they're stuck.
You can't use them. They're stuck in your hand. You can't get rid of them. They're just there. They're taking up space that other inkable cards can use. You could have to ink cards you'd rather use because you need to keep progressing.
And the problem is most of the non-inkable cards are higher cost cards. They're usually 5 and above. There's rare, like there are some, like the new little Pluto is uninkable, but it only costs 1. So that's fine if you get that in your opening hand because you can play it immediately.
And below on the list then are the
right. But again, those are low cost, so those are fine. But if you get like I've had before, where I had 2 grab your swords and 2 whole new worlds in my opening hand, what am I gonna do with that? Like, there's nothing I can do. And I know that happens a lot too with Be Prepared.
Yep.
With that deck, sometimes you get 2-3 Be Prepared in your hand, and at the beginning, there's nothing you can do with it.
Yeah.
One time in my opening hand, I got 3 Plutos, then both of my Chillibogs. And then my other 2 was Mufasas.
Oh, geez,
Wow.
okay.
So you really got to control how many unequal you have in your hand. You have in your deck. 12 to 16 seems about the sweet spot. There are some that might use slightly more, depending on how you're using them, how you're playing. There's some that use less. Yeah, I think yours has less than 12.
Mine has about
I think mine
half
has 16.
my deck.
No, it's not half.
I think yours is like 20. I think yours is like 20. I think mine's 16.
Yeah, yours is high because you've got a lot of songs. I'm
And
around.
the Plutos too.
I hover between 14 and 16, depending on what kind of edits I make to my deck that week.
Sure.
So you want to stick around between 12 and 16. You can go less. I definitely wouldn't go more unless you really know what you're doing.
Yeah. And again, like if you go more, you could just get you're gonna have more chance of getting really unlucky and just having a whole hand on couples early on.
I forgot to animate that last line, but character versus action versus location. So you got 3 types of cards. You got character cards, you got action cards, you got location cards. Most of your cards should be characters, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to gain a lot of lore with action. You can take out some cards with actions, but without characters on the board, you're just not going to be able to win the game. So characters, you got to make sure you have them. I would say usually at least 40 of them is kind of what you're looking at them. So typically at least 2/3, so around 40 of your cards, which probably be characters. And then actions, for actions, 8 to 12 is typical. There are some special decks that are going to have more. Jen?
Because I have the Steel Song deck, so I think I'm probably more at like 16 to 20, because they're all songs. But I have singers, and again, so my Ariel or my bigger cards can sing those songs, and I don't have to pay ink for that.
Or you could be like me, where I have like 2 or 4.
Well, because this also includes items as well. So
yeah,
actions are songs or an action or an item.
Yeah, I only have like 2 or 4 of those in my deck.
Yeah, most of your you've got characters because characters are going to lore, and your goal in your deck is to get lore. Emmett, your deck is mostly characters. I think you only have 4 songs in there, the bare necessity songs.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
One time I got a bare necessity in my pile, not in my discard. So when I got the Chillibogs out, I couldn't put it back in my discard.
Right. It's just characters. Go back in. And then the last one is playing them 4 to 6 locations. You could also say the items, same as well. I didn't do that. That was my fault. But items, if you're playing an item type deck, that would go to account in your actions or as location, would count as characters. So same here. Here you got that last 20 that you can kind of play with. You could include them as either in place of locations or actions.
And it really depends. I feel like it depends for the locations because again, if it's a location that gives you lore, like you could replace a character with that. But if it's an uninkable location that doesn't give you lore, then you probably don't want to be replacing a character with that.
Right. So locations, if you're playing them, 4 to 6 max. You don't want to probably fill your deck with locations at this point. People are playing to remove them. We'll get rid of them. And I always feel like when you're playing location, like is this going to benefit you any more than a character would? Characters can attack other people. Locations can't. You kind of just sit there.
Get lore.
Hopefully get lore, but they can also just they're defenseless. Get attacked by a character.
Yeah.
So those are the things I wanted to go through this time. The other thing to consider, right, is basically like how many types of each ink, of each cost of ink that you're using, right? You want to make sure you have 1 drop, 2 drops, 3, 4, 5. Figure out where your stopping point is with your ink.
Right.
Like how hard do you want to go?
Yeah. So like with my deck, for example, with my Steel Song, it's not really a deck where it's not really a big ink building deck. Like, I can usually get by okay with only 5 or 6 ink and still make a pretty good hand out of it. Because I think my highest cost is 6 with my stitch, and I can shift it for 4. So that's the thing. So really, if I'm not counting my shifting, then it would be my 5 drop beast.
Right.
My sad boy beast would be it. And so I can get by with 5, maybe 6 ink. Like it's nice if I can get more, like if I can pull a whole new world and get more ink, because again, one of the strategies for a Steel Song deck is to flood the board with so many cards that unless the other character has also Steel that has a grab your sword or a be prepared, they can't get rid of all of them at one time, and so sometimes it is good to have 6 or 7, but I don't need like 12 ink like sometimes some of the other decks end up needing because they have such high cost cards.
Don't you need a flood of the water?
Sure, Emmett. Flood the board.
So that's how many you need of each drop really depends on the type of deck you're playing. I know there are some decks that only war like 4 1-drops because they don't really care about those because they want to get the turn 2. Some that run 12. You're running 12, I think, 1-drops. 16 actually, I think.
I think I'm doing 12 and now I'm doing 8 2-drops.
Right. Now I'm doing 7 1-drops. So it all varies. That really varies on your deck. You kind of want to pick your cards and build around them. Eventually, we might get to how we would approach building a deck. But I think, yeah, quite a lot of 1-drops. So that's your plan. So it's going to change each time. So that's our main topic for this week. So that ends kind of our main topic. So thank you guys for talking through that with me. I think that was really fun. I think next week my plan is to kind of go over, right, you've got yourself a deck and you want to go play with other people. What is it like actually going to some place and playing? Like, what should you bring with you if you're going to some place? Because I know I had that experience.
Yeah,
I didn't know what to bring.
Yeah.
I just kind of showed up one day with my little paper counters. Yeah. So we're going to go over that next week, and we're going to go over the chapter, Rise of the Bloodborne Lore of Lorcana. That is what we'll go over. So we continue that trend next week.
Awesome.
But this week, before we close, as we do every time, I have the trivia for you guys. Let's see what you can do this time. I think some of these you may get. I think some of these are a little difficult, but possible for you to get. There's only one where I don't think you have seen at all. So there's no choice. And it's the first one, so we'll get it out of the way right away.
Woo.
What animal is Diabol, played in human form by actor Sam Riley in The Maleficent?
What? The Maleficent. Isn't it a crow?
It is not a crow.
Is it a raven?
It is a raven.
Because I was going to say I thought it was a crow too, but yeah, it's a raven.
A raven. Yeah.
Good job.
Good work, dude.
I knew it was not the raven.
Yeah.
It's in that one card.
Yeah, Diablo.
Oh, right, Diablo, right.
Not Diablo. So if it would have been Diablo, you might have been able to guess that. It was not. So thank you. Peter Pan is the leader of the Lost Boys.
Yes, he is. True.
Alright. Obviously not the question.
No.
How many Lost Boys are there?
Oh.
I think about like 8. 7 or 8. I'm putting an 8. 7 or 8. So.
We've got 7 or 8. 7.5 is 8.
I'm going to say 6.
7 and 8.
The answer is, someone did get it right. It's 6.
Yes!
I know there was Cubby and the
Cubby,
Bunny.
there's the twins.
No. Twins. And, Peter fights Cat. Well, Peter fights Cubby does. But he does fast. Wait.
Alright, what is the name of the park in Mickey Mouse Clubhouse?
Oh, that's the park? Oh, Mickey's Fun Park. No. Mickey's Park? No, it's Mickey Park, isn't it?
seen that so much. I'm surprised with it being almost Easter season that you haven't watched it. And now,
Cursed us.
huh?
Cursed us.
I know. Now
Like
it's gonna happen tomorrow.
you said Mickey Mouse Clubhouse 3 times in a row, and now. Okay. Which character from the animated feature Peter Pan carries an umbrella throughout the film?
Oh, that's
John.
Yes, John, the eldest of the Darling boys. Say no. I don't know why it chose and had to like spell that out hard.
Absolutely.
And why is it eldest? There's only two. It's the elder of the boys.
Last question. What Disney animated feature was inspired by the stories of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle?
The Great Master.
That's a great answer. Good job, Mom.
Good job.
Yeah, because Basil has the Sherlock Holmes hat.
Yep, I think this is one of the first ones we've gotten everything
Nice.
out there. Yes, congratulations, family. Congratulations.
Oh, Disney trivia.
You need to plan it out. We're doing it. So that is our show for today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for those on YouTube for watching. We are QuestLore, a family Lorcana podcast. If you have questions for the family, you can send them QuestLoreQuestions@gmail.com. That info is in the description of this episode. Please rate, review, subscribe, follow, like, wave at us.
Do all of it.
Somehow are passing by us on the street and you recognize us. Whatever. Please do any of it on YouTube, on any of the major podcast platforms. You can find us any of those places. If you want to see a video version of this, go to YouTube where we have actual pictures of the color symbols. We have the actual video up that we watched. Will be there, so you can get more info there. If you want an audio podcast, again, all major audio podcast platforms, Spotify, iTunes, whatever.
And don't worry, we'll be looking for that one.
Right. So, thank you so much. We appreciate the listen. We appreciate the watching. We are the QuestLore family. We are continuing to search for lore. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Bye.
Oswald the Lucky Rabbit for Lorcana.